Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Outer Eight Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan, we're out the Motor City Madmouth, and this is Monday Night Baseball with the Motor City Madmouth. Rick Curti, the man with the clear frames and the dark shirt, and David Hodges with the old T-shirt, white T-shirt. It does get it done. Nobody's going bareback here. So what's up, fellas?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, we're
Doing
doing
good, guys. How you doing today?
We're doing all right. We're doing a lot better than some other guys we're about to talk about right now. Unfortunately, by now, hopefully everybody on social media has heard the unfortunate passing of Cincinnati Reds legend Joe Morgan. The Baseball Hall of Fame is going to, the reunion next year will be a whole lot different since about a half a dozen guys are going to be there. Let me lead off the names, and then we'll go ahead to Joe Morgan. In 2020, we've lost Whitey Ford, who passed away last week at the age of 91. We've lost Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, known for the 1968 World Series, Tom Seaver, Mr. Met, and of course one of my idols, Al Kaline. So when we talk about six legends of this magnitude, we're talking six legends of this magnitude. So, Mr. Curti, what are your thoughts about these guys?
Sad. 2020 has been horrific. We lost so many people. Gail Sayers, another great legendary athlete who died. So, we've just been ravaged. And, passing of Joe Morgan, he was a little bit before my time, but I remember him on Sunday Night Baseball. He was terrific. I loved his infectious laugh. He was so good at what he did. Sunday Night Baseball has not been the same since they've been gone. It's just, he's a legend, with a big red machine. He'll be truly missed. He was one of the best in the game, and great commentator, great guy, seemed like. And with all these legendary Hall of Fame players, it's just 2020 has just been horrific.
21 years, John Miller was his partner. I remember those two, the way they did it, as they used to always take that night off to go to the Hall of Fame inductions, and they used to have a fill-in crew for ESPN. It is unfortunate. Joe Morgan meant a lot, and not only what he did on the playing field, but what he did off of it as well. So, yeah, I gave you a list of six, and they all sting. And I got to tell you, one of my good friends, Tim Mead, is the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. I hope to have him on sometime, if not the end of this year, probably into next year, and Tim's agreed to do it. It's just a matter of trying to make sure we can work out the schedules to bring Timmy on here. So, but you think about it, it's bad enough that we didn't even have a Hall of Fame induction ceremony in 2020, let alone losing the magnitude of these six Hall of Famers. Anyhow, you ain't to lose a Hall of Famer of any kind, but guys, we're talking about some big name guys. Here's what we are, right, Dave Hodges?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, it's very sad. It just seems like a lot of people say what else is the year 2020 going to throw at us? Obviously, start off the year with the death of NBA legend Kobe Bryant.
Right.
Of course, COVID-19 is caused or just wreaked havoc all across the world, and so many events that we all look forward to as sports fans. Throughout the year. Obviously, that's not happened this year due to COVID. And as you mentioned just last week, Whitey Ford, the chairman of the board up there, one of the all-time great Yankees, passing away. And it just seems like you almost want to say what else does 2020 have in store for us? You really don't want to know, but sometimes you kind of catch yourself saying that. And as Rick mentioned, I've always tuned in every Sunday night. Sunday Night Baseball, with himself and John Miller. And, it was almost kind of like it was an evening you look forward to, catch the ball game and especially catch that broadcast crew. And it's sad hearing the news today that Mr. Morgan has passed away.
Yeah, furthermore, you all talk about how bad 2020 was. How about former NBA Commissioner David Stern died on January 1st? So that didn't help matters any. Don Shula, we lost him. You can't get any bigger than those. You talk about Gail Sayers, Rick, moments ago. We still have another, 8 weeks or so. We still have a little bit of time before the end of this thing's over. But boy, baseball, everybody's taking a hit. Let's not kid ourselves. We're all getting older. Okay, we're not getting any younger. I've always had that firm belief that you live every day as if it were your last, and that's what you have to really do. And you know what? I'll never waver from that philosophy now or ever. You just have to do it. But we've lost some icons for sure, and I just mentioned a few, and you guys have already. So anyways, let's talk about the managerial ranks. The Chicago White Sox made some noise by parting company with Rick Renteria. General Manager Rick Hahn wants championship caliber manager, and Mike Scioscia will be 62. I know Rick Curti's talked about him. Alex Cora is out there. AJ Hinch is out there. But Ozzie Guillen is not a candidate. So let's break them down one by one. Mr. Curti, you've been on the Mike Scioscia Kool-Aid for a while. Why would the Windy City be a good place for Mike Scioscia?
Well, I mean, they want a manager that has championship pedigree, and he won a World Series with the Angels. He was with it for a long time. He's a respected baseball player, one of the best catchers I ever saw, and he's the big name out there. And if you want a championship manager and a guy who's available, it's Mike Scioscia. So if I was them, I would give him a call. But I was kind of surprised by this firing. I never saw the White Sox as a contender. Never thought of it. And I was kind of surprised to fire somebody during a pandemic. But I mean, I guess they want to go a different route. But if I was the owner or GM, I would just say, hey, first person we're going to contact is Mike Scioscia. But I would see what the Dodgers do, because if the Dodgers choke this year again, it's bye-bye Dave Roberts. And I see Mike Scioscia going to the Dodgers, to be quite honest with you.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this one. Mike Scioscia, he's got to be up there on, if not number two, definitely number one on everybody's list of, managers to contact. And, he's obviously very familiar in Southern California, as, of course, both of y'all know he's, had all those years and a World Series championship with the Angels. But yeah, I mean, if the Dodgers keep rolling, I could definitely see him winding up in the Windy City, or at least having the job interview, maybe even two. But yeah, it's, as the GM said, you want that star power for a manager. To me, first person you call, look in the phone book or whatever Rolodex they have there in pro baseball, and you contact Mike Scioscia, and definitely see if he's interested. Obviously, it's quite a market up there, in Chicago, and maybe he could have resurrect some magic on the South Side like he had with the Cubs.
Yeah, I was reading on social
media. Like Joe Madden had with the Cubs.
Well, that's okay. I was reading on social media with Facebook, and judging by the comments I was getting, that they felt it was the right call to let him go, that they were further along than they thought. So if Rick Renteria did what he had to do as the guy that took the lumps and rebuilt them so the next guy could take over, that does happen a lot in baseball. So that would fall in line. Now, when you look at the managers in that division, however, Mike Matheny will do a good job for the Kansas City Royals. He really will. One with St. Louis. We know what Terry Francona has done with the Indians. And you add Mike Scioscia to that division, and we still don't know who the Tigers are going to go after, but I have a feeling that they'll get a good candidate. They're out there. So with that said, those names, Alex Cora and AJ Hinch, that we've talked about in other broadcasts, are going to surface again. Those guys could be in line for this White Sox job too. They have won a World Series, and Major League Baseball will get a second chance, and I think those guys are going to get hired. And I'm not surprised that there are job openings during a pandemic. And the reason why I'm not is a lot of these teams thought that they were further along, and evidently they found out they're not. So you're going to get managerial turnover every year, whether you got 60 games or 162. It doesn't make any difference to me. So
True.
That you could be looking at some pretty interesting skippers and pilots in the American League Central Division for sure. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We'll see where they land. Maybe I know Bruce Bochy retired. Maybe they can give him a call, and maybe he might want to say, you know what, it's time for me to come back, and that might be an interesting job. So I don't think he's gonna come back, but why not approach Bruce Bochy and say, would you be interested in coming back to Major League Baseball? The worst they can say is no.
I would think a guy who should get another opportunity would be Ron Washington of the Atlanta Braves. I know he left Texas. He was in a tough personal situation, had some things going on but he might be ready to jump back into the managerial ranks at some point or another. And of course, can't talk to him now because he's with the Atlanta Braves, but he certainly would be a candidate that would be in play. And he does have a winning track record of getting the World Series. So you can never rule out Ron Washington for sure. But I know one guy that won't get a call is Ozzie Guillen. I mean, you know, the guy has a disease called diarrhea of the mouth. And I don't know if you knew about this commandment, thou shalt keep thy foot on the ground, not thy mouth. Okay, that's one I made up, by the way. Okay, and I could tell you other commandments, but forget about it for this particular person. But Ozzie Guillen, to me, I think he's a good manager. He really is. But you can't, it's one thing to be outspoken and colorful, but he takes it to a level like no other. And I don't think baseball needs that, and that's why he hasn't been hired.
He never will be. I mean, he called the gay slur to a reporter one time, and then he praised Castro, and he did it in Miami, of all places. So he ain't never coming back to coaching. He's just he curses like a sailor. They always got to bleep him out. So he's just a total hothead, and you don't know what to expect from him. And he's always saying something stupid, some racist, some homophobic, some stupid all the time.
All right, so let me ask you both individually about these guys. Alex Cora, good candidate. I know that everybody talks about cheating. I don't want to hear it anymore because their names aren't going to be brought up, and there are enough openings. So how do you think Alex Cora would fit into the situation with the Chicago White Sox?
No. I mean, that guy shouldn't even be a manager anymore. If I was, I'd scratch him off my list. I mean, the guy's a cheater, and if he comes back to baseball, that'd be an absolute disgrace. So I wouldn't even waste my time with him.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and hit you with AJ Hinch, and then I'll have David answer the same question. AJ Hinch, Rick.
Oh, he'll get an opportunity. I wouldn't want to, part of the whole Astros cheating scandal thing, but I mean, he'll probably get a head coaching job somewhere. We're a forgiving country. Baseball forgives people, So I'm sure he'll go and get another head coaching position somewhere. Me personally, I wouldn't touch him.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Rick on both those names. Obviously, this is a scandal that's going to have far-reaching effects, and I guess I'd say far-reaching meaning in many years to come. As like I mentioned before, or on past broadcasts, the AJ Hinch, it's probably going to be seen of lack of institutional control, to kind of take a cliche from the college sports ranks. If obviously both of them are tied to that scandal, it's going to be a permanent stain on their resumes. And should any one of them get a job, I really don't even know what the term after this would be. Being on a short leash. They would, any franchise would say, well, we're going to be watching you. Even if you accumulate too many speeding tickets going to and from the ballpark, it's going to be a problem. And those guys they'd be under such a microscope, for the rest of their careers. And yeah, I agree. They are going to get the phone calls, maybe more Hinch than Cora, but yeah, it's going to be so difficult for these two, to get back into the game, and especially the head coaching position. I don't know if I see it, even within the next 5 years, for Cora. But Hinch, yeah, he'll probably have the interviews, and you never know. Some might be the formality, where they'd say, well, we'll bring him in, interview him, take him to the finest steakhouse in town, see what can be done. But Hinch just might be going to Chicago for a free steak. He might know that he's not going to get the job. But yeah, I mean, I think if you are the White Sox, you go hard for Mike Scioscia. Try to get him up there into the Windy City. And again, yeah, those two, Cora and Hinch, they're gonna get the phone calls. Their names are always going to be mentioned. But again, yeah, I'm with Rick on this, and it's going to be very hard for those two to get high up positions again. But like I said a few moments ago, Hinch will definitely have a job before Cora will. So it'd be very interesting to watch it and see where it goes.
If they both get good steaks, all I can recommend those two guys, if they're as smart as they think they are, go to Gibson Steakhouse, the best steakhouse in the Chicago area. Take it from a guy that's been there a few times out on Michigan Avenue. What an incredible place, I'm telling you. I love Chicago. It's a great place. I don't care. We steal from them in Detroit, and they steal from us. We have Michigan Avenue in their area, and we go ahead and take the second city. What a beautiful connection off I-94. Just like you two guys are off of I-85. So I don't. But yeah, no, I think it's inevitable. They're both going to get hired, whether we think they're good managers or not. They do have championship pedigree, and remember, they'll be under a bit of a microscope this time around. Everybody's already onto the cheating thing, so I don't think that happens again. But in terms of pure managerial ability and analytics and being able to press the right ones, I think they're going to get, again, like you said, Rick, you said it, and I heard it, so did he. Second chance society, people forgive. We'll have
We give them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chances. And, if I wanted to learn how to bang on trash cans, I'll hire them. But if I was like an owner or a manager, I would stay away from them. But, would they get it? Would I be surprised if Hinch gets a job? Absolutely not. I would not be surprised.
Right. Okay. That's good enough. All right, we'll talk about what's going on at the moment, or what, or what isn't at the moment, because Tampa Bay did a lot of the cheaters fans a lot of satisfaction. The Tampa Bay Rays 4, Houston Astros 2. Tampa leads that series 2-0. I think a lot of folks in the baseball world are hoping that a sub 500 team does not get to the World Series. And the Tampa Bay Rays continue to be a great story under Kevin Cash. You talk about a team that doesn't have a lot of cash, but at least the cash they have happens to be Kevin Cash. Whoa, what an analogy. Let's give our folks over at that produce Diet Mountain Dew a cash line here for that analogy. So let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays and the Houston Astros, okay? I know who you guys want and who you got. So, Mr. Curti, lead it off. Even though you're trying to take away the team and move them to Charlotte, okay, the Tampa Bay Rays, because they play in a doormat place like Tropicana Field, at least everybody's playing in front of nobody, so you don't have the attendance thing to talk about this year. Well, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, a model organization how to spend your money wisely and develop prospects.
They are a model of how to run a team. You don't have to have a lot of money. Unfortunately, you have to have a lot of fan support either. You don't have to be in a great stadium either. They just know how to win. They did it with Joe Madden. They've done it with Cash, who's just been a spectacular hire for them, and I'm rooting for them, as it's obvious, because I just despise the Astros for what they have done and the arrogance that they have, and them being a 500 team. I don't want to see a 500 team win the World Series. That'd be crazy. But I'm happy for the Rays. They're a great team, and we'll see what happens with them. If Cash should be a Manager of the Year candidate, along with probably Bob Melvin, one of those two. But we'll see what happens with them. I hope they win, and that would be the feel good stories to see the Rays. You talk about Moneyball. That's a personification of Moneyball, and they're just doing a great job. And so my hat tips off to Cash and to the Tampa Bay Rays. And yeah, I do like to see them come to Charlotte, only because they're such a great team, and it's so sad that they play in such little people. If the stadium was open, it'd probably be half empty, and that's the sad part. They just have no fan support there. But
well,
either way, yeah,
the reason they don't have any fan support is because
yeah.
Tropicana Field is in St. Petersburg, one of the worst places you can put a stadium. But they built the cart before the horse. But I think the thing that you talked about last week, and I want to reiterate on that, is the Andrew Friedman Bowl. I think would be pretty ideal. A guy that was the architect of that situation in Tampa. He's with the Dodgers with a bigger checkbook, and now meanwhile, you have those two teams potentially on a collision course to probably meet later on. So, all right, David Hodges, what's your take on this?
Yeah, the Rays are definitely riding high. Obviously, they took down the Yankees in 5. When I saw that New York had been eliminated, I was just over the moon excited. You wouldn't think the Yankees would be, bounced that early in the playoffs. But yeah, I think this has given the Rays a little locker room rejuvenation. players only meetings or, players, coaches, they sit down and say, hey guys, we took out the Yankees, we got the Astros coming up, obviously, they're still, obviously they're not liked, in the court of public opinion. And, now that they're up 2-0 on the Astros, I think they're going to continue to ride it all the way. I mean, of course, yeah, Houston will get a game, maybe two, but yeah, I just think Tampa continues to cruise on with this. And, they kind of, like I said, they really needed that shot in the arm to say, hey, we're still here. We're relevant. We may not have the budget. We may not have the fan support, but look how far, we're going in the playoffs. And, congrats to them on, getting past the Yankees and, so far being up 2-0 on the Houston Astros.
Well, Charlie Morton, former Astros pitcher, is playing for the Tampa Bay Rays too. So, I'd like to see him be able to cash in on that decision. Boy, the word cash comes up a lot today, doesn't it?
Yeah.
On his decision to go from Houston to Tampa, and he's paid some pretty good dividends for the Rays. I mean, the Rays here, if you had to go ahead and find out who's on that team, you better go over to your closest sports application, because how many people really know who is on that team? They always say you can't identify a roster without a scorecard, right? Well, the Tampa Bay Rays certainly are one of those. But yeah, I'm pulling for them. And think about it, if they're able to get to the World Series, not a bad year's work, considering the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup, and now the Tampa Bay Rays are right in the thick of things to get to the final round. So I wish the Rays well, I think, but nobody's going to sit here and tell me that though all of the baseball world is hoping, including the Dodgers, okay, that they beat the Astros. If you can't play beanball with them, at least root for the Tampa Bay Rays to beat them. I remember back in 9/11 when I was living in Arizona, how everybody was rooting for the Yankees because of what occurred on 9/11. I get that. But don't tell me that, because I was living in the greater Phoenix area and I was pulling for the Diamondbacks. Why wouldn't I? I'm in a town that has a chance to win the whole thing. So,
yeah.
But so now all the players and managers and everybody affected by that cheating scandal, they got their pom-poms and they're cheerleading for the Tampa Bay Rays. Do us all a favor. Can only imagine how many Christmas cards will be sent in the way of the Tampa Bay Rays direction. But
or any fines that might be paid. Players
right.
incur fines or whatever.
Well,
you'd have so many people stepping up to say, hey, you took them down. Talking about steaks a little while ago. As both of y'all know, I'm now with FedEx, and I've been delivering quite a few steak packages over the past couple of days. So, of course, I'm not in the Tampa area, so if I'm a delivery driver in Tampa, and the Rays do get past Houston, I expect a lot of Omaha steaks to be appearing on player apartment porches, or in their homes to say, hey, thank you so much. You took down the cheaters, and or some say, hey, you take the family out for, or here's a nice big ham for Christmas dinner. Take the family out to the finest steakhouse in Tampa, and when you're done, call me up, and call me up. Here's my credit card. I can definitely see it.
Well, Burn's Steakhouse is what people are known for in that part. I've never been there, but it's a pretty good place. But I will tell you this, though. Of all years for the Tampa Bay Rays and not have any fans, 2020, what their countdown is? 6 more years until that lease expires over at Tropicana Field in 2027. So if I were the folks in the Tampa Bay area, if you want to keep a team which continues to contend every year, you better figure something out with that stadium real soon, because I'll tell you what, the Tampa Bay Rays, if they ever left, everybody would be giving them the red carpet to get them to come to their town, because the way that infrastructure, that front office, and that model for building a team, you tell me that they wouldn't pack every place on the planet if they ever relocate. So, so who cares? Nobody played in front of fans this year. So the Rays should feel like they were on an even playing field. But all kidding aside, okay, they're counting down how many years left until that lease is over. And we'll see what happens then. So let's go to the National League Championship Series. The Atlanta Braves take on the LA Dodgers. And I know that Rick Curti seems to love to talk about a make or break year for Dave Roberts. Now, I will say this, though. Mike Scioscia would be a good logical choice to go to LA since he played with the Dodgers, but that's if they let Dave Roberts go. But let's talk about the Atlanta Braves and LA Dodgers, and we'll focus on the Scioscia thing with the Dodgers perhaps in a week or so. Who do you guys like in this series? Hodges, you can lead off with this one.
I still like the Dodgers in this one. You know, they know they probably feel like they have a lot to prove. You know, they might, you know, obviously, yeah, they may get a mulligan for, you know, losing the year of the cheating scandal, but, you know, that they've been there, you know, that they can see it, they can smell it, they can taste it. It's just past their fingertips, and, you know, they know it's there. They're ready to take it. You know, they're just ready to bring the trophy, you know, back to LA, back to Chavez Ravine. And, you know, I'm going to go with the Dodgers on this one. I think the Braves are going to make it. Well, I know the Braves are probably going to make it a series. You know, as we talked about when they were, you know, when they're playing Miami, there's, you know, just such a young core of talent down there in hot Atlanta, you know, as like to be called down here. Yeah, I think the Dodgers are going to take this one. Like I said, it won't be easy, but I see the Dodgers advancing.
All right, Rick.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, if the Dodgers don't win this series, Dave Roberts is adios, bye bye, and I'd be giving Mike Scioscia a phone call because to me he'd be the most logical fit. But all the pressure's on the Dodgers. If they don't win the World Series, I've been calling them the Buffalo Bills of Major League Baseball. They will be officially the Buffalo Bills of Major League Baseball. And I mean, all that talent, they have the highest payroll in all of baseball. You know, and the Lakers won it yesterday, and it's, you know, now they would love to join the Lakers as winning a championship. They haven't won one in so long, and it's time. I mean, they've been so close, and, you know, Dave Roberts has made some bonehead plays and bonehead decisions that have cost them. That's why I'm always very critical of him. But it's Los Angeles. I'm from there. I was born there. I know how it is. It is championship or bust. And they don't care what your record is. If you don't win the championship and you're given so many opportunities, it's bye-bye. So all the pressure's on them. I see a Dodgers-Tampa Bay Rays World Series. And it probably will go the distance because the Rays, they have no pressure on them. Nobody expected them to be there. They
Right.
beat the Yankees. They took them out. People are happy with that. They would love to see you know, such a small market team win a World Series. But if that happens, I love the Dodgers are going to win it, and they better win it because if they don't, they're the Buffalo Bills of Major League Baseball.
All right, you brought up a bunch of interesting points. Let me start with one of them. If the Dodgers don't get past the Braves, and we'll talk about one step at a time, I could see Dave Roberts becoming a casualty, and he will lose his job there. That I can tell you. If he gets to the World Series again, yeah, maybe, maybe not, but more so if he gets ousted by the Atlanta Braves, I could see him finish there for sure. Now, if the Dodgers win the World Series there, I think again, they win a World Series, it does take some heat off them because I don't care about what anybody says. No championship under no uncertain terms should get an asterisk in 2020. I don't believe it because these are tough circumstances no matter what you have. COVID-19, nobody asked for COVID-19 to come here at all, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me go back to the Dodgers Braves series. I could see that series going 6 or 7. The Dodgers are going to be heavily tested in this series. They beat Milwaukee, wiped them out in 2, and they had no problem with the Padres at all. But the Braves will provide a real stern test for them. I could see this game going 6 or 7. But, you know, but the Dodgers and the Rays series, I think it will be a great series, and I think the Rays are certainly on house money there. But I don't know whether Roberts would lose his job if they get to the World Series. I really don't. I think people underestimate how hard it is to play under these bubble circumstances. And these players have been subjected to more pressure because of COVID-19 than any other professionals that you can imagine. I'm not talking about all teams and all leagues have been, bubble or no bubble. You know, I mean, the NFL situation's at this rate. We're not getting into that tonight. But, you know, the NHL and the NBA handled their bubbles brilliantly. They really, really did.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, baseball, They had to work through a lot of growing pains. I'm just glad that baseball has gotten to this point and that there is a chance for a season. So no asterisk across the board for any champion at all. This has been a tough year. They should all the accomplishments should be weighed the same because remember, when you get to the postseason, you still have all the very big layers of postseason to get to that final plateau, no matter how many games you play. But yeah, I can definitely see the heat on the Dodgers if they don't get past Atlanta. And Mike Scioscia will be a candidate in high demand.
Absolutely. But yeah. But I'm like this. I'm like I said, I'm from there. If they don't win a World Series, Roberts is gone. He's had so many opportunities. And just the bonehead moves he's made, and they couldn't get past the Cardinals. They couldn't get past the Nationals. Was an embarrassment. They were terrible in that series. And, and it's like the Yankees are gone. And it's like, should be a clear, easy path for them. But those Tampa Bay Rays, and I think both series will go 7. It's going to be a great series, but I do see a Tampa Bay Dodgers series, and Dodgers should win that. And if they win the World Series, Dave Roberts is safe. If they don't win it, he's gone. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's fair. Like you said, LA is it is an area of star power. They are. That's always been that way with the Lakers. I mean, I've been to Laker games before where the celebrities are on the floor and it's on a ticket. Thankfully, I'm being a member of the media. I didn't pay to get in. They took care of my expenses there, but that's not to say that everybody can walk in there and go to work at these games. So, but I couldn't go along with that. All right, well, the final thing we're going to talk about tonight is, you guys have alluded to it, now we'll address it. Are you guys surprised by the early exit with the Yankees falling and the Rays advancing? I guess the word surprise is the best way I can answer. All right, Hodges, lead off with this one.
Yeah, when you think New York Yankees, you definitely think, the history, the legacy, the greatest players to ever play the game, have almost at one point or another gone through the Yankee organization, whether it be as early prospects that might have been traded away. They came in their prime. Of course, they were basically, had a checkbook in front of their face and say, name your price, or, some guys wanting to get their last, little bit of professional baseball in them and stay in the show. I was a little surprised. The game went, or the series went to 5 games, and they did get bounced. And I know we've talked about the Yankees the past several weeks here, on this program, and I thought they would advance. I was, I've been a long time Yankee hater. Of course, there are some players on the squad or that have come through to wear the pinstripes that I have mad respect for. And but yeah, I was surprised, but as we've been talking about, like those Florida teams, including the Miami Marlins, the Rays are playing with house money. It's nobody expected them to advance, and they have. So yeah, it was surprising because usually you wouldn't see, or you wouldn't think of the Yankees being eliminated this soon in the playoffs, but obviously they were, and I'm happy for the Rays, and of course obviously I want them to beat Houston for what Houston has done over the past year or so, and very surprised. Do they have a lot to be ashamed of? Yes and no. I mean, obviously, the money they spend each year, bringing in these top stars. Obviously, Garrett Cole, I think, even before, he even threw a pitch, in pinstripes. There were like people that were breaking down, obviously, how much he makes a game, an inning. I think it was a pitch, a strikeout. And, he makes more in one strikeout than, probably, than 10, just take any 10 average people, combined, and combine their salaries. But yeah, you definitely got things, and again, like I've said, for across a lot of sports this year is probably going to be a mulligan, for some, unless you were outright, basement dwellers, in whatever sport you play. But yeah, I was surprised, but happy to see it. I don't think there's going to be a lot of turnover, in the New York staff. Players, I think, more are going to stay put. The Yankees will just say, well, just came up short on this one. Obviously, the bar is so high, when you play there in New York City. A lot of questions are going to have to be answered. Of course, that's going to fall on the manager, Rick. I know you've not been drinking, the Aaron Boone Kool-Aid up there. But so yeah, it's definitely tough on the franchise. But again, there might be some slack. Again, because of the year, teams, no fans, teams in the bubble, and players, if they weren't on the Yankees, a lot of teams they've played have tested positive for COVID. They've had the outbreaks. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. But they are the New York Yankees. They will come back stronger, and we can only wait to see what the future holds.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, it is a surprise. I had the Yankees and Dodgers World Series. That would have been an epic World Series, and unfortunately, we're not going to see it. But the Yankees, they choked. It's, you talk about LA being a rough market. The Yankees is a rough market, and they're not going to care if it's COVID-19. They're not going to care that they were just a walking mash unit all season long. It's the Yankees. They are like, they've won more championships than anyone, and it's not even close to Major League Baseball. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle. I mean, go on and on and on. All the great players they've had. So, and the people are not happy, and Aaron Boone is on the hot seat, and I think he'll keep his job. But next season, if this happens again, he's gone. And especially in New York, they don't play around. And I've been saying from the very beginning, they made a mistake getting rid of Joe Girardi. That was his best managerial year he had with the Yankees, a team that nobody expected, and he took them far, and they got rid of him. And that was a surprise to me. And getting Aaron Boone, I just didn't understand the hire. You hired a guy with no experience. I know he grew up in baseball with his dad and his brother and all that stuff, and he was a great analyst and all that, but I still didn't understand, and I still don't get the Aaron Boone hiring, but I think they'll cut him some slack because of COVID and because of the injuries. But next season, they don't at least make it to a World Series, he'll be gone for sure.
Well, I'll say one thing about Tampa Bay Rays. They earned it by hitting that decisive home run off of Aroldis Chapman. You throw your best closer and you're able to hit it out of the park to win the ALDS. What do you expect? And in terms of managerial of the year candidates, Kevin Cash in the American League, Don Mattingly in the National League. I don't know. I don't think there's any two that should get it besides those guys. So, guys, you're doing a great job tonight, as always, here. Folks, you're listening to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Madmouth, along with Rick Curti and Dave Hodges. We do this every Monday night, and we enjoy bringing you baseball insights. When baseball season's over, we'll do a couple of baseball broadcasts a month, and we'll probably mix it up with the sports exchange a little bit so everybody has a chance to talk about everything in the world of sports. So stay tuned for updates as we go along. Rick, I have to tell you right now, congratulations to your Los Angeles Lakers. I have to admit, being in South Florida, I was really rooting for the Lakers over the Heat. I don't do a lot with the Miami Heat. The only time I ever saw Heat games is when they played against the Detroit Pistons, but I feel I have a bigger attachment to the LA market because my cousin Terry used to live there many years, like an older brother to me. Love the Lakers. And my most recent experience out in Los Angeles this past January, being a member of the Southern California Sports Broadcasters, was neat. And I had an opportunity to spend time with Bill McDonald, the Los Angeles Lakers announcer. And I think you probably heard of Bill McDonald, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I have a picture right in front of me, and I take a lot of pride in the Lakers, and I'm looking forward to returning to LA when Southern California Sports Broadcasting has another awards dinner. So, with all due respect, guys, I think we had a heck of a time tonight, and we'll have more baseball. 108 Stitches Baseball Talk will be back next week as well. Rick, you obviously do a good job with the COVID stuff. Go ahead and take over.
Guys out there, I mean, it's getting bad. I think India and like Iran is behind us in COVID infections and deaths. Man, we're the United States, and you have all these countries like New Zealand and Germany and even Canada that have recovered. We need to start making this thing political. COVID-19 doesn't care who you are, how rich, what party you are. Wear a mask. Wash your hands, social distance, stop going to parties. There's a big storm that happened in Cancun, Mexico, and a lot of Americans are stuck out there all because they, went out there during a pandemic. And, it's just sad that people are just not listening. They're not caring, or they just think that, I'm fine, I'm healthy. and yet you hear young people dying of this, people who are healthy dying of this. I mean, it's just sad. So please wash your hands, wear a mask, stop shaming people for wearing masks, and just use some common sense. And that's all I pretty much have to say about that.
And I'll tell you what, I want to let everybody know out here that Rick Curti does a wonderful job helping the South Florida Tribune social media department, promoting everything we have, and we're very grateful for that. With that said, Rick, continue on. Let people know how they get a hold of you. I'll be followed by Hodges, and I'll wrap it up.
Well, you can contact me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. Our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB and also on Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And you can also find me on LinkedIn under Rick Curti. It's Curti.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, you can call him or contact me on via Twitter at Dave Talks Sports. Also on Facebook at Dave Davino Hodges, Davino. Diehard fan of the Brazilian soccer teams, and I kind of gave myself a Brazilian soccer name. That's where Davino comes from. But yeah, any topics you might want us to address on upcoming broadcasts, you can hit me up on either one of those platforms. And again, it's Dave Talks Sports on Twitter and Dave Davino Hodges on Facebook.
Very good. All right. So for you folks out there that want to hear the audio version of this broadcast, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. I'll say it again. Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And there's a million distributors out there, so it seems nowadays, to it, so you can find us somewhere. So look up 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and you will find us there. As for social media, you can follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. That's at Tribune South. Instagram and Facebook, South Florida Tribune. Feel free to like both of those as well. And this broadcast is being broadcast on our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. We encourage everybody to subscribe to this channel. I'll give you 6 reasons why you should. The Sports Exchange is on there, no limits, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, which is what we're doing. Real and the Rare, Fantasy Football, and the South Florida Tribune podcast. All of these shows have a certain purpose. We talk about news, sports, and a lot of different things. So by subscribing to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, you'll be able to have access to them and much, much more. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com. You'll find that we have a section for the Detroit area called Motor City Monitor. So for you Michigan transplanters looking for a place to get some of your Michigan sports news and news outright, Motor City Monitor drop down on the Tribune will get it done. We have the broadcasts on there as well. So look on the WSAN drop down, you'll be able to find them there. And of course, we have our media distribution partners as well as our columnists on there. So check out the website. We have an awful lot of good things on there to offer. Now, if you want to email us for suggestions or comments, southfloridatribune@gmail.com gets it done. Again, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And last, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, you feel free to do so. Scott Morganroth, I'll be more than happy to connect with you. So meanwhile, before we close out the broadcast, I want to once again rest in peace Joe Morgan, and for that matter, all the rest of you Hall of Famers that have passed on. You'll definitely be missed, but you definitely won't be forgotten. So meanwhile, this is Monday Night Baseball with Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, Dave Hodges, and Rick Curti. We thank you for joining us tonight, and we will catch you next time on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Good night, everybody, and have a great week.